I'm Summer Barnes, I'm from Lafayette, New Jersey, and I just started competing in Strongman. So basically when I started Strongman, I technically didn't even start Strongman. I started with CrossFit with my mom, which was really cool because she introduced me to the whole weightlifting thing. Mostly because when I had started CrossFit, I was suffering from a previous injury to my foot because I had planned on playing college basketball, and because of the injury I had to stop. So I felt kind of upon weightlifting in general, which to me was just kind of like a release because I suffered from depression, and it was a way for me to like let out whatever I needed to. When I first started Strongman, I actually was introduced by Andrew Triana. Yeah, so he lives like decently close to me, so he asked me to start a program with him, which he created, and it was like a 21-week program. And I was like, yeah, like I'll do it, but I never really knew. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I was diagnosed with depression. It was about 3 years ago, and I went through a lot. There's a lot of different levels of depression, and a lot of people suffer with depression and anxiety, usually together, sometimes separate. For me, it was just depression. And when I was in high school, I kind of like fell into a little hole, and I wouldn't admit it to anybody. So like when my friends asked where I was, why I wasn't at school, I would just come up with excuses, like I was really sick, or I just didn't want to go, like just random excuses, until I kind of realized that like it was okay, that like it needed to be talked about because I wasn't alone. A lot of athletes struggle with depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, all that stuff. And a lot of athletes don't talk about it, and they don't want people to know that they do because they're this high level athletes, they're perfect, they don't want anyone to know what they actually struggle with. But I think it's something that like needs to be talked about, especially from a strongman standpoint. When I stepped into the Strongman gym over where we train, I noticed people with scars on their arms. I noticed people, you could just tell you knew had a hard time. And you knew they weren't going to say anything about it, which is okay, but I think they need to know it's okay. Yeah.
Go, Summer.
So when I first started Strongman, I just kind of did it. I was just doing it to do it because I didn't know I would really fall basically in love with the sport. I didn't know how it was going to affect me the way it did. So recently I competed at nationals. I competed at Battle of the Bells. So I plan to just basically keep competing and growing with the sport, and it's cool because you get to see yourself mature with the sport. So I think the best part is the fact that we are training partners, and I wouldn't be able to live without him. And he's probably the same for him because we're always together when we train. He really, I would say, influenced me the most with the Strongman specifically, because he taught me that it's that I'm in control. I can do what I want with it. I wouldn't have done my first competition without Andrew, because he obviously introduced me to the sport, but he also prepared me mentally and honestly physically for what I was going to be doing. We have competed together twice, and then he got to watch me at Battle of the Bells, which is a different experience for both of us because I wasn't competing with him, but he was more of my coach, which was really cool. said hashtag Team Flamethrower, which is really funny. But he basically said that we're gonna hold hands and we're gonna take flamethrowers to the world. And that he's convinced that, that we can change the world in some way. Whether it's through Strongman, whether it's just us together, that we have something special. It started with my parents, specifically my mom and my dad. My mom got me into lifting. So she introduced me to the whole weightlifting world, which was awesome. And I had my dad as a back support because even though he wasn't into the whole weightlifting thing, he understood the depression side of it. Because it's in the family, he struggled with it. So he was able to really help me use that to find lifting, and my mom helped me find lifting. I'm very passionate with this sport. I've officially only been lifting, like strongman wise, like 24, 25 weeks. So it's not, I'm still new to it, I'm still learning a lot, which is I think the best part of it, is you can, like my favorite part is basketball was such a team-oriented sport. And when I went through a lot with depression, I found out that lifting is more individual. So if I didn't want to lift, I didn't have to lift. If I didn't want to deadlift, I didn't have to deadlift. Like, it was more personal to me.
Go, Summer!